ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। So we were looking at the 18th Vakya in the first Brahmana of the second chapter. Here already Ajatashatru tried to explain to Balaki that Atma, which is Vijnana Mayaha, you can say, which is full of consciousness, awareness, sentience. This aware Atma is there in its natural state, its Swarupa, in the deep sleep, where it is not associated with any other drishya or seen objects. Because during waking and dream, the main problem is that the seer and the seen are confused. The qualities of the seen are superimposed on the seer, and the other way around also. We think the body and mind are all actually conscious and sentient. So there is a confusion. That is why Ajatashatru tried to wake up a man who is in deep sleep and show that in the process he showed that the Atma, which is of the nature of consciousness, is separate. It is not like what Balaki thought it is before. And in fact, he asked the question, where was this Atma when the person was sleeping and from where it has come? Now, for this, Balaki did not answer anything. He kept quiet because he didn't know about it. Therefore, our Ajatashatru, he started explaining further. Okay. So, he said that this Vijnanamaya Atma actually takes along with it all the organs, sense organs and mind, and resolves all of them, and it goes into its own Swarupa. That is about the deep sleep. Then what about dream? Because there can always be a question that in dream there is no connection between the external organs and even the body, you can say, and the conscious self. But still there is a dream world, and in the dream world one takes oneself as a karta bhokta, as a doer and enjoyer, and one has sukha dukkha there also. You have pleasure, you have pain, you can have nightmares, you can have sweet dreams, all that is possible. So you said that Atma getting confused with the body mind sense complex is the issue. But in dream, that is not the case. Therefore, based on dream, why cannot I say that samsaritvam is the nature of Atma? That is the question actually put forward. So for this only we were seeing the answer by Bhashyakara, correct? So Bhashyakara says that, here you can see here, na tavat swapne anubhutam anubhuta maharajatvadeyaha lokaha atmabhutaha. So during the dream, whatever experiences you undergo, whether you become a Maharaja or a Mahabrahmana or even a beggar, whatever it is, they are not also part of the self even in the dream. Okay, uh, they are not actually intrinsic to the self. They are not part of the nature of oneself. And then he explains that further. Atmanaha anyasya jagrat pratibimba bhutasya lokasya darshanat. So even in dream, what you are seeing is nothing but a reflection of whatever experiences you have undergone during the waking. So you have undergone many experiences during the waking state, and those impressions are there, samskaras are there, and then those impressions only based on that a projection happens during the dream. Now you can say, no, sometimes I dream about things which I have never experienced in this life. One can claim that. Even if somebody claims that, we have no problem because samskaras are across the janma. Okay. So the traditional answer will be that don't think that you have samskaras only from this life. The samskaras can come from all the previous lives also. In fact, this is actually uh, validated in some ways, okay, because if you take things like hypnotherapy, which I have some experience of, okay, in hypnotherapy, one of the things is past life regression. And many times we see that things like phobia, for example, you are phobia is not really fear, understand that. Fear means you may know uh, why you are afraid of something. Okay, for example, a dog bit you when you are young. From that time you can have fear of dogs because there is a reason for that, and you even know what is the reason. Phobia is not like that. Phobia is totally irrational. You yourself don't know why you are afraid, but you are afraid. Okay, you and people can't even hear that word. It's not about that thing being present. If something is there, they will start running and all that. Their reaction is totally not you cannot explain that logically or anything, understand that. And many people cannot even hear that word. For example, somebody has a fear of snake or phobia of snake, means you cannot go and tell them snake. The word snake itself produces a certain weird reaction in their body. Okay, let us say that they have both physical and emotional and mental disturbances coming up just by hearing a word. So how do we explain this? So in hypnotherapy and all, we see that all phobias are mostly connected with the past life death. Whatever is associated with your death in the past life, it can be even silly things like a feather of a bird, because we have seen cases where people had phobia of bird feathers. Now you can see a feather of a bird is not really something threatening, or in any way it is something fearful. For most of us, we may even play with the feathers, correct? We all played with peacock feathers when we were young and all that. But for a person, if it is associated with their death, then the subconscious, the first principle of the subconscious is to keep you alive, survive. Keeping you alive or surviving is the main thing. And if subconsciously there is an association with a thing and death, means it will try to avoid that in whichever way it can. Okay, and those things being subconscious, it is not available to your conscious mind. So the person who undergoes the phobia themselves will not know why they are actually reacting like that. That makes it even more complicated because they cannot even explain their behavior to others, and it becomes a further cause for complexes and all that. But we are able to address all these things by finding the root cause, by regressing them, and many of them then come out of that, and they don't even recognize that they have become okay. In fact, in one case, one woman came for a hypnotherapy session with phobia of snakes. Then we found out the root cause because she was bitten by a snake in the previous life and all that and everything, and she got healed and she came out. And then she came out casually and she was watching Discovery Channel and snakes were there. And she was watching that, and after some 5 minutes only she recognized that she has overcome that phobia. Otherwise, she would have run out of the house by that time. So anyway, so I just went away somewhere. I think the point is, don't say that uh, you have not seen something in the waking state, and but you have seen it in the dream. It can either be a past life samskara, or even our Pujya Swamiji used to say sometimes, no, no, in the dream I saw a man with a horn, okay, or with two horns. But even then, what Swamiji used to say jokingly, that uh, we know buffaloes have horns, and we see people who behave like buffaloes. So it is not a big deal that you are seeing a man with a buffalo's horn or something like that. But anyway, the point here is the dream world is purely born out of your impressions in the mind. It's a projection of the mind and is having its basis on whatever experiences you have undergone during the waking. That's what Bhashyakara also says here. Jagrat Pratibimba Bhutasya Lokasya Darshanat. Okay. Therefore, what he says here, the point here is the answer what Bhashyakara is trying to give to the objection that Atma undergoing Sukha Dukkha in the dream is a samsari. That is the actual objection, correct? So what he is trying to prove is the dream experience is is false. Basically, it is not true, correct? And whatever you are dreaming is not really there because it is only based on the impressions of your experiences in the waking world. And therefore, if something is not real, based on that, you cannot say that Atma is a samsari. And further, he will also say that even all the experiences you undergo in the dream, they are all again not part of your Atma. It is not intrinsically your nature. It is all again Drishya only. It is all experienced, part of the experienced world. Whether it is dream world or waking world, it doesn't make any difference. The Drishya and the Drashta are different. Their natures are totally different. So there is no question of saying that the Drishya Dharma, the qualities of the scene, will somehow stick to the seer. That cannot be accepted. The seer is always only pure consciousness, not connected to any of these things. That's what he is trying to establish. So how he goes about that, let us see. So he says, Maharajaha eva tavat vyasta suptasu prakritishu paryanke shayanaha swapnan pashyan upahrita karanaha punar upagata prakritim maharajam iva atmanam jagaritaha iva pashyati. So he says Maharajaha eva. So during the time of the dream, tavat, the king, whoever is the king, already this person is a king. And now what? Vyasta Suptasu means what? He is sleeping separately. As an individual, he is sleeping in his own bed, correct? And so Vyakta Suptasu Prakritishu means what? From his own citizens and subjects and all other palatial servants, let us say, he is sleeping separately, Paryanke, in his own bed, okay? Shayanaha. And then what? While sleeping like this separately from his subjects, he dreams. Swapnan Pashyan. Okay. And how? Upahrita Karanaha. All his senses, sense organs are withdrawn. They are resolved. Okay. But then in the dream, what happens? Punaha upagata prakritim maharajam iva atmanam jagaritaha iva pashyati. But in the dream also, okay, in this case, whatever example Bhashyakara is giving is what in the dream also this person is a king again. Okay, he is a king in the waking also. In the dream also he is a king, and again he is going along with all his subjects. Prakriti here means subjects of a king are also called Prakriti. Okay, the word Prakriti can have so many different meanings. Here don't get confused. So here the word Prakritishu and Prakritim and all that means the subjects of the kingdom. Okay. So along with the subjects, again he goes in the dream also, like in the waking world, as a king only. Okay, in the dream also he is a king. And then what? How does he go? Yatra gatam gunjanam ivacha bhogan. He is going on a yatra. Okay, with his retinue, he is going as a king will go, maybe with all his elephants and whatnot, so many things. Okay, and he is enjoying himself, all the different things while going on the yatra. So that is the dream. Now what Bhashyakara is trying to point out here, he says, Nachatasya Maharajasya Paryanke Shayanat Dvitiyaha Anyaha Prakriti Upetaha Vishaye Paryatan Ahani Loke Prasiddhaha Asti. So what Bhashyakara is trying to point out here is whatever the Maharaja is experiencing there, correct, during the dream, you cannot say that it is the reality. Why? Because the king is sleeping on the bed and there is nobody else really going on the road, correct, with all his retinue and elephants and all that, and he is enjoying the yatra like that. In reality there is nothing there, because the king is sleeping in the bed and he is only experiencing this in the form of a dream. So the dream does not have any reality. Why the Bhashyakara is pointing this out is that I think there are some people who claim that dreams are also real. Understand that there are some Dvaitins who say that all cognitions are real. Yatartham sarvam drishyam. Okay. Whatever you see, even if you see a silver on shell, okay, they say that the silver is really there. In fact, one of the theories is very interesting. I think the Vishishtaadvaitins have a theory that anyway Panchikaranam has happened, correct? They go a level lower. They say, like, even in modern times we can say, correct, everything is electron, neutron, proton. Then what is the difference between gold and iron? Everything is only electron, proton, neutron. We can have gold in iron, iron in gold. Like that, they make one argument. It's quite funny, but they make that with all seriousness. Okay. So one of the arguments is that even any false cognition you have or erroneous cognition you have is also real, because they don't want to admit avidya at any cost, because they are so afraid that if they accept that avidya is there, then everything these Advaitins will then come in and simply knock off their whole superstructure, because it doesn't have any basis anyway, really speaking. Because if you look at the Shruti Pramana, you cannot really interpret it in any other way. So they make all these funny arguments, I have to say. So here, that's why very seriously Bhashyakara is addressing this point, because otherwise if you just read it, I also thought, why is he taking so much effort to prove that dream is false, correct? So that's what he's taking so much effort. He says that the Maharaja is there in the bed and there is nobody really going outside on the streets, but still he is experiencing that, correct, in the dream world. Okay, so what? So yam asau supta pashyati. So the sleeping person cannot see a real Maharaja who is actually going in the street. That is the point he makes first. Then he also makes another point. He says, Nacha upasamhrita karanasya rupadi mataha darshanam upapadyate. So the other point is what? If you say that you have to act, if they are really seeing, dream also is real. If you say like that, boss, to really see something, you should have your sense organs functioning, correct? During the dream, the sense organs are not functioning like normal sense organs. They are not coming into contact with any of the sense objects, because the Maharaja is there on the bed only. Therefore, you cannot claim that in the dream also the Indriyas are actually cognizing color, form, and everything. Okay, so he says Upasamhrita Karana. That is the important point where the the sense organs have stopped working. They have resolved into the prana, and therefore they do not have the capability to actually objectify their sense objects. Therefore, what? And further, he makes one more point, very interesting. What if somebody else says, no, no, really this Maharaja and retinue, everything is there within the body only. Therefore, this person sees. This is another argument. See, all these things look very silly, but Bhashyakara is actually very seriously answering all that. He says, Nacha dehe dehantarasya tat tulyasya sambhavaha asti. So you cannot also say that in this deha only, while sleeping, he is seeing another body of the same Maharaja who is moving around in the streets with all his retinue and elephants and all that. That is also not possible, because what, he is all the time only in this body. Destasya eva hi swapna pradarshanam. So swapna happens within, by being in your body only. You are not going anywhere else. In fact, this point is made even in the Mandukya Karika. There is a Vaitathya Prakaranam in Mandukya Karika. So one of the important Vaitathya Prakaranam means establishing that everything is mithya. Vitatha means also mithya only. The cognized world, even the waking world, is no different from the dream world. That's what Gaudapada Acharya establishes in the Vaitathya Prakaranam, using only, you can say, Anumana, Tarka. So, but of course, we always have the luxury of falling back on the Shruti Pramana, because all we have to do is show that everybody else is illogical. We have no problem. We are beyond logic and we have the support of the Shruti Pramana. That's how the whole thing operates here. If you see how Bhashyakara argues, how Gaudapada Acharya argues, all of them, they will use a lot of tarka only to show that others are illogical. And we are not illogical, understand that. We are beyond logic and we have the pratishtha in tarka. Why this point is, sorry, we have the pratishtha in Shruti, not Tarka. Our Tarka is based on whatever is said by the Veda. Why this is very important is, even recently I was reading some philosophy magazine or something, where a big discussion is going amongst philosophers now, that philosophy itself is quite useless because they are not able to come to any conclusion at all. Because different people are arguing about certain things, okay, and they arrive at totally opposite conclusions. They start with some premises but arrive at conclusions which are totally against each other, and nobody is able to actually disprove the other. So it goes on endlessly like this. So one guy has written a big article lamenting that why philosophy is like this, so whether the study of philosophy itself is useful or not. And then he gives his own answer that no, philosophy means it has to be like this only, and we still have something useful coming out of all these deliberations and all that, which is okay. Being a philosopher, he has to say finally that, I think. But when I read that, I very much appreciated what, see, even in Brahma Sutra there is a Tarkasya Apratishtanaha, like that. There is a sutra is there, that you cannot know this Atma only by Tarka. And there is in Kathopanishad also there is a statement, Naisha Tarkena Matirapaneya, like that. There is a statement is there. That means what? Only by Tarka, if you go, you cannot arrive at any conclusion. There is nothing, no conclusive knowledge you can say that it is ascertained like this. You cannot come to that because it doesn't have any pratishtha by itself. So you have to have, in fact, one person wrote a book, Pujya Swamiji said, but I never got hold of that book. Once my guru said that one person, that's why he wrote a book, it seems, called, or the book talks about the necessity for revelation. Okay. Why revelation is necessary? Because even these philosophers, they all argue, correct? How do they arrive at the premises based on which they are arguing? Because somewhere they have to arrive at some initial premises, and then they build a huge castle out of it. If you ask them, they will also say that it is their intuition. Now, if you are going to have your initial premises based on your own intuition, then this Paurushaya, that's what we say, that it can be always subjected to defects, it can have dosha. So all these philosophers, Tarka also, initial, even science is based on a lot of axioms, correct? So where do you get these axioms? That means you have to say intuition. Even scientists have a lot of intuition. They start with certain axioms. Of course, they can build a theory, and their theories and hypotheses are falsifiable. And experimentally, you can prove that. Or sometimes experimentally, you prove it also, it is only within a certain boundary condition. And if certain assumptions change, then the theory can fall flat. All these things are there. So our pratishtha should not be our own intuition. It can be, that is why we have Shruti. We always base everything on Shruti. After that, whatever Shruti is saying, to establish that, you can use how much ever tarka you want. But the problem is, if you go and read the Shruti with preconceived notions, you can be a great intellectual. See, all these other acharyas are also very great Vaidika. They have a lot of Medha Shakti, they know Vyakarana, Nyaya, and all that. But the only problem is, if you go with a preconceived notion, you will use all your intellect to actually somehow try to get that meaning out of the Shruti. That is the problem. So we can see that actually. Anyway, so Bhashyakara is very seriously now arguing that Swapna is false. That is the, at the end of the day, all he is trying to prove is giving different reasons to show that whatever you may say, Swapna is Mrisha. It is not something we can take it as real. So based on that, you cannot say that this is the nature of the Atma. That is the conclusion we have to arrive at. In fact, the Purvapakshi now says, very interesting. He says, Nanu Paryanke Shayanaha Pathi Pravrittam Atmanam Pashyati. So he says, no, no, the one who is sleeping in the bed, in the cart, only seeing the one who is going on the streets. Why cannot I say like that? Okay, so he says Pathi. Pathi means on the path, on the roads, you can say streets. So the self of the king who is going on the roads is seen by the one who is sleeping on the bed. Why cannot I say like that? Means no, Bhashyakara says no problem. Assuming that this guy is a Vaidika, he says, he now quotes the rest of the Vakya here. Okay, so he now says, Na Bahis Swapnan Pashyati ityetadaha. So the Swapna is not seen outside. During the Swapna, you are not seeing anything which is really there outside. So for that, the Shruti itself is saying this. What? Saha Maharajaha. So here you can see here, Yatha Maharajaha Janapadan Grihitva Swe Janapade Yatha Kamam Parivarteta Evam Yeshaha Vijnanamayaha, we have to take Etat Pranan Grihitva Swe Sharire Yatha Kamam Parivartate. So this part now he is quoting to say that Upanishad itself is saying that it is all only happening within the body. Nothing external is there in this case. So he says, Na bahihi swapnan pashyati iti etadaha. So whatever dream we see, it is not something we are cognizing which is really there in the other outside world or in the waking world externally. So for that, what the Upanishad says, Saha Maharajaha Janapadan Janapade Bhavan. So Janapadan means those who live in that Janapada. Janapada means it is like a district or whatever, kingdom, you can say in this case. And what kind of people? Raja Upakara Bhutan, Upakarana Bhutan. Okay. Brityan, Anyanscha. So those who are doing Upakaranam means what? Who are actually serving the king. Okay. The servants. Brityan means you can take it as servants. Anyanscha, others also. There may be ministers. So many people are there, citizens and all that. Grihitva. So the king, when the king goes on a yatra, he takes along with him. Grihitva means upadaya. Bhashyakara gives meaning here. Grihitva is there in the original Vakya there. Then what? Atmiya eva jayadina uparjite janapade. So taking all these people, where is he going? He is going in his own kingdom only, okay, which he may have won in a war or battle or whatever. Okay, so Jayadina Uparjite Janapade. So in his own kingdom, he is going whatever he has gained by victory. And in this what? Yatha Kamam. So how is he going? He goes as he wishes. Okay. Because he is the king, he is absolutely powerful as a monarch. So Yatha Kamam means Bhashyakara, Yo Yaha Kamaha Asya Yatha Kamam. So as per his own wishes, desires. So Yatha Kamam Ichchataha Yatha Parivarteta. So with this desire, in keeping with his desire, due to his desire, however he goes around in his own kingdom, Yatha Parivarteta Ityartha. So he goes in whichever way. Then what? Evam eva, in the same manner, Yeshaha Vijnanamayaha. This Vijnanamaya, when you are sleeping, this conscious being, what does it do? Etaditi Kriya Visheshanam. So here, this Etad does not fit with this Pranan. So Bhashyakara now gives this Etad a different meaning. He says it's an adverb. Okay, he says it's a Kriya Visheshanam. And Anandagiri also explains that here. So he says that in the same way, Yatha, this Raja is taking along his subjects, in the same way, thus this Vijnanamaya also is taking along all the Indriyas. Their Pranan means Indriyas. So this Etad is actually thus, in the same manner, like that we have to take the meaning. It's a Kriya Visheshanam. Pranan Grihitva Jagarita Sthanebhyaha Upasamhritya. So Pranan Grihitva means Bhashyakara again explains. Because normally the Indriyas are all facing it's their own sense objects, correct, in the waking world. But now they have stopped all those activities and they have resolved. Upasamhritya Swe Sharire, Swe Eva Dehe. So Swe Sharire, in his own body, taking all his Indriyas, this conscious being is going. And Bhashyakara again, Swe Eva Dehe means what? He again adds Na Bahihi, not external. Okay, so you cannot say this person is seeing something external even during the dream. And how is he going again? Yatha Kamam Parivartate. Similarly, like as he wishes means here Yatha Kamam slightly different meaning. What is the meaning? Bhashyakara says Kama Karma Bhyam Udbhasita. So that Kama also is due to your own karma, because whatever you experience in the dream also, you are only exhausting your Papa Punya. So it is in keeping with your karma only, whatever you may still say that I desired to do this in the dream and I desired that and I did this, that, whatever, that is all due to your own karma only. So Purva Anubhuta Vastu Sadrishihi Vasanaha Anubhavati Ityarthaha. So whatever you experience in the dream also, they are all similar to whatever you have already experienced. Okay. So that is how the dream operates. the dream is like that. It is an experience where you are experiencing whatever similar to the waking world, but whatever you are experiencing is based on your own karma. Okay. Therefore, what tasmat swapne mrishadhyaropita eva atmabhutatvena lokaha avidyamanaha eva santaha. So therefore, what in the dream, whatever you are experiencing, correct? Lokaha means here lokyate iti lokaha. All your experiences. Avidyamanaha eva santaha means what? Being not really there. Okay. They are all not there. Mrisha, Adhyaropita, like that Bhashyakara is making it very clear. They are not there in reality. They are all false. They are superimposed. But still you experience it as though it is all part of yourself, correct? In the dream also you can take up a body. The dream body may be different from the waking body. Dream individuality itself may be different. In fact, that is why that is another pointer to say that your own individuality is not intrinsic to yourself, correct? That is one of the important things one has to do nididhyasana. As a student of Vedanta, the most important thing is what? To see that your individuality is not intrinsic, because all problems are individuals' problems at the end of the day. In deep sleep, you have no problem. If you are simply a conscious being, you are not going to have any problem. Everything becomes evident to you. Let it become evident. It's not a big deal. But you are not able to be like that. So that requires some effort, which one has to put till it becomes sahaja. That's what we said. Till it becomes natural, one has to put in effort. That sadhana one has to do. So here, dream is clearly all false. Okay, then what? Tatha jagarite api bhashyakara. No. So similarly, waking also is no different. Understand that. So iti pratyetavyam. So why we say like that is because at the end of the day, the anumana we say is that whatever to say that the waking also is equally false means what is the anumana we use? We say drishyatvat yatha swapnavat, because the Dvaitin also says what? Jagat satyam. Why? Drishyatvat ghatavat. So he says this entire world is real. Why? Because you see it. You see it through a valid means of knowledge like pratyaksha. Like even you see a real pot, correct? And you use that pot, you store water, you drink. Then we say same hetu we use. See that. Jagan mithya drishyatvat swapnavat, like even in the dream. So like that, of course, we just do not go only by this anumana. Understand this. We give this anumana mostly to irritate the Dvaitins, I think. Nothing more than that. Otherwise, this whole thing is based on what the Shruti is revealing. That's what I already told you. This Anumana is at the end of the day must be based on whatever the Shruti says, Yatra Dvaitam Iva Pashyati and all that, correct? Neha Nanasti Kinchana, you cannot get more clearer teaching or revelation than that. So, Jagarite api iti pratyetavyam. You have to look at or see the waking also similarly. Therefore, what? Tasmat Vishuddhaha Akriyakaraka Palatmakaha Vijnanamayaha Ityetat Siddham. So the conscious being who is dreaming, even though may undergo some experiences, still that conscious being is pure, not touched by really anything which is happening in the dream world. It's not connected to any of the Kriya, Karaka and Phala. So not connected to any action or factors of action or results of action. Vishuddhaha, pure. This is established. Therefore, further what? Yasmat, because of that, drishyante, drashtuhu, vishaya bhutaha. क्रिया कारक फलात्मकाः कार्य करण लक्षणाः लोकाः तथा स्वप्नेपि तस्मात् अन्यः असौ दृश्येभ्यः स्वप्न जागरित लोकेभ्यः drashta vijnanamaya vishuddha. So because of all these things, what finally what we are saying, the upapatti or the logic is the same everywhere, whether it is dream world or waking world. There is only one logic. What is that logic? Whatever you see is not you, correct? Whatever I see as an object of my knowledge is not I, because I am the subject who is cognizing this object. So everything else is really only Vishaya Bhuta, correct? They are all an object of my darshanam for the seer. They are all an object of my seeing, and they are all in the form of action and whatever factors of action, results of action, whatever you can call. Okay, all these things, and Karya Karana also. All this body itself is Karya and Karana, correct? They are also known to me. They all become evident to me. All these experiences, lokaha, they are same in the swapna also. They are the same in the waking also. Okay, whatever is there in the waking, tatha swapna also. In the dream also it is similar. Therefore, what? This drashtr, the seer, is separate from all that is seen. Drishyebhyaha, anyaha asau. So is this drashta is something separate or other than whatever you are cognizing as this and an object, and whether it is swapna or jagarita loka. Okay, whether the experience is in dream or in waking, it doesn't make any difference to us. Everything is experienced as an object, means whatever is the dharma of the object is the dharma of the object only. It cannot really touch you because you are the subject who can never be objectified, in fact. And that drashta vijnanamaya is vishuddha, is pure, cannot be tainted by any samsaritvam or any other guna of the seen objects. That's what Bhashyakara establishes here. So here the important point here is, even our Puja Swamiji is to say a very interesting statement, is that the normal samsari logic is what? I know my sorrow, therefore I am sorrowful, correct? Then the Vedantic logic is the same thing. I know my sorrow, therefore I am not sorrowful, because that is also really an object of your cognition. Whatever becomes evident to you is not you. It's not part of your Swarupa. It's all in just coming and going. Whatever may be that sorrow or whatever may be the difficulty, okay, at the end of the day, if you know it, it is not you. That's all is the logic. It's very simple actually, but it is not very simple also. Until you see it clearly, if you see it clearly already, it is always simple. We don't know how others are not able to see it. But if you do not see it, means we cannot blame also. It's not, they are not able to see it because of their own whatever mixing up of so many things are there, correct? That's all avidya. That's the greatness of avidya. That is the magic of Maya or avidya. And sometimes it is tragic also, correct? It is we cannot help also. Some people, they are suffering. Really, they need not suffer. Really, there is no suffering also. In fact, even though if we know that, we cannot really help anybody unless they themselves seek the help or become whatever. They have to have a certain cognitive change to appreciate that. So that is a difficult thing only, really speaking. So further, what Bhashyakara now introduces the next vakya. He says, Darshana vrittau swapne vasana rashehe drishyatvat atad dharmata iti vishuddhata avagata atmanaha. So he is now again summarizing this. So in the swapna, whatever we are seeing, correct? All darshana vritta means what? They are all basically cognitions. whatever you see in the dream world, whatever you cognize, and they are all born of Vashana Rashi. He says they are all based on your own samskaras, impressions which are there, and also they are seen, drishyatvat. Therefore, what? Atad dharmata means their dharmas or their qualities. The qualities of the things which you are seeing are not your qualities. They cannot be the qualities of the drashta. That's what again Bhashyakara says. Therefore, what? Vishuddhata atmanaha avagata. So the purity of the Atma has been ascertained based on this. But still there is a question. Why? Because the Upanishad previously said what? Yatha kamam, like this it said about the Vijnanamayaha Atma. So now Bhashyakara says, Tatra yatha kamam parivartate iti kamavashat parivartanam uktam. So because there in the dream world, Atma, Vijnanamayaha goes as per its own kama, correct? Its desires, it takes along all these sense organs, and it is going and experiencing different things. Therefore, Atma is subjected to kama. Like that, there can be a question, correct? Because Upanishad itself is saying that. So therefore, he says, what? Drashtuhu drishya sambandhascha asya swabhavikaha iti ashuddhata shankate. Therefore, there is a doubt is raised now. What is the doubt? Okay, you say that drashta, drishya and all are separate, fine. But still there is a sambandha. Okay, these things are not the nature of the drashta, but still the connection between the seer and the seen itself is natural, I say. Okay, and because of this connection, which is swabhavika, means what? Which is there naturally, the faults or the defects of the drishya or the seen will stick to the drashta. Okay, so there is a sambandha is there, which is swabhavika, which is natural. Like this, there can be a doubt because Upanishad itself is saying yatha kama. Therefore, what? Ataha tad vishuddhyartham aha. Therefore, Atma is still Vishuddha only. That has to be shown clearly. For that purpose, the Upanishad is further talking about this particular Vakya. It is now going to reveal what is that. Atha yada sushuptaha bhavati yada na kasyachana veda hita nama nadyaha dva saptatihi sahasrani hridayat puritatam abhipratishthante tabihi pratyavasrupya puritati shete स यथा कुमारः वा महाराजः वा महाब्राह्मणः वाति वा अतिग्नीमान् अतिग्नीमानन्दस्य गत्वा शयिता एवं एव एषः एतच्छेते. So now here you can see atha yada sushuptaha bhavati. So when this Atma, Vijnanamaya Atma is sleeping, and during sleep what happens? Na kasyachana veda. You do not know anything. You do not cognize anything. See, normally dream, you do not directly go from waking to dream. You have to go to sleep and then only you go to the dream state. Otherwise, directly if you go, then we call it daydreaming, correct? That is also possible. But still it is not really considered as a dream. Daydream is not dream. For you to really dream, you have to go into the sleep, deep sleep, and then you wake up. You half wake up into the dream world. So here also Upanishad is pointing that out. It is saying that when this Vijnanamaya Atma is sleeping and it does not know anything. And then how does this dream world is projected? Father is giving an explanation here. What is that explanation? Hita nama nadyaha dvasaptatihi sahasrani. So there are 72,000 nadis are there. They are all starting from the heart, it seems. Hridayat puritatam abhipratishthante means what? They go out all over from your heart. Now, what is this nadi itself is quite controversial, means nobody knows it really, I think. Different people are translating nadi as different things. Some people say they are nerves. Some people say they are all these veins and blood vessels. We don't know. In fact, it's better to keep this nadi as something sukshma, I think. We don't have to actually correlate it with anything in the physical body, because all this nadi, anyway, in the Shastra, we are talking about it only as part of the Sukshma Sharira. So even Ida, Pingala, and all this, even in yoga, we talk about nadi, correct? Sushumna nadi. So these nadis are not only in yoga, understand that. Even in Kathopanishad, nadis are talked about. So these things are there in the Upanishads only. From there only Yoga Shastra also has picked it up. So here you sleep and then all these nadis are there. And then what? This Vijnanamaya Atma then goes through these nadis. And that's how, okay, and that's how it is. So it comes back, in fact, because originally the question was what? Where does this person go in deep sleep, and from where he is coming back and all that, correct? So here to point out how dream happens, the Upanishad is saying this person goes to deep sleep, does not know anything, then this Vijnanamaya is coming back. And how is it coming back? Through these 72,000 nadis. Okay, and they are called Hita. The name of these nadis are called Hita, and they extend from the heart and they go all over, it seems. Okay, the whole body, they spread, they pervade, and then it remains in the body. So tabihi pratyavasripya puritati shete. So this Vijnanamaya comes through these nadis and remains in the body only. Understand that it doesn't go anywhere else. So here Puri means the body only. Puri Shayanat Purushaha and all we say, correct? So Puri Tati means it remains here in the body, Shete. And how does it then see itself? Sayata Kumaraha va Maharajaha va Mahabrahmanaha va. Okay, so it remains there as either a great Brahmana or a great Raja or even a Kumara, means a small boy. Okay, so in all these ways one can see oneself in the dream. And then what? Atignimanandasya gatva shayita. So here Atignimanandasya means what? Being all these things also, it has this great ananda, it seems. Because in sleep, everybody, whatever may be your problem during the waking, you don't have that problem while sleeping or dreaming, correct? That goes along with waking only. In fact, this is one of the logic with which Gaudapadacharya uses. See, normally the logic we use to say dream is false is that whatever you eat in dream will not quench the hunger in the waking, correct? Whatever activity you do in the dream, the result of that activity is not going to have any effect once you wake up. Now Gaudapadacharya reverses this whole thing. He says, similarly, you can eat a lot and go to sleep, then you can become hungry in the dream. That means whatever you have done in the waking is useless in the dream. Therefore, waking also is equally false like dream, because waking is negated by dream, dream is negated by waking. So this is the logic actually he uses in the Mandukya Karika, interestingly, so that we have to understand. Anyway, so here it is different. I just remembered that. So here what it is saying is, this Atma attains this great Ananda in sleep, because there is a great Ananda is there. Whatever may be your problem, we just don't have any of those things. We do not cognize all those things, and we are there. We resolve back into our nature, which is not lacking anything, correct? You are not a wanting person when you are in deep sleep. That is good enough to enjoy your own Swarupa Ananda. So you go to that Ananda Swarupa and only sleep there only. Okay. So there only you are sleeping, you remain there and you enjoy that, this great Ananda. Like this. This is the actual verse. So here, by pointing out that the Shuddha Atma in the sleep goes to dream and again it goes back into sleep. Let us say, many times it happens, correct? We dream and then we go back into sleep. We don't even know what we dreamt. Many times I get up, I only know that I had a dream, but I cannot recollect. They are not very lucid that way. Some dreams are not like that. Our nightmares means you directly come into waking state, I think. But anyway, the point here, what Bhashyakara will explain later, is that by showing that Atma is Vishuddha in deep sleep, the same Vishuddha Atma only comes through these nadis and experiences the dream world within the body only. And even while it experiences that, it is still the Vishuddha Atma only, but then again it can go back to sleep and then enjoy that Ananda. Means what? Whatever is happening in the dream world does not really taint you in any manner. You are always the Vishuddha Atma only, who is not really connected to any of uh, this worldly objects or their qualities. So all that connection is all only superimposed and due to ignorance, and that is what is causing you all the issues. So that is what is shown here, and Bhashyakara will explain that in the Bhashya. We'll see that next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद।